Now that it's the summer, there's one muscle group that's now more important than it was before. That's the calves. I got fairly decent calves. They're all right. But it really made me think about it because I would argue that they're more noticeable than even the quads when, you're out and about with shorts, because the shorts goes down to here and it's a bit covered. You can't fully see your quads. But calves, when you're wearing shorts, are always noticeable. And so I did a bit of research. I've always heard that calf training is cope. It doesn't really work. And I personally do about 4 sets per week for my calves. However, the more I look into the research, the more I realize that, number one, a bunch of people will say it's genetic, but the calf growth isn't the genetic part. It's just how they look. Like, you look here, if you have like a longer tendon, your calf is going to be higher up like this, and you're not going to be able to grow this area. I don't know if you can see it, but if your tendon is longer like this, then you're not going to be able to grow the area where there's the tendon. But if your tendon is lower, then you're going to be able to grow this entire section. That's kind of what it comes down to genetically. Of course, like any other muscle, how you grow a muscle or the rate at which you grow a muscle is genetic. For example, Alex Eubanks, I think his name is, obviously has great chest genetics. So with calves, it's partially genetic, but when people say that, they aren't talking about the rate at which it grows, because that's just with every other muscle, right? They're more speaking about how they're going to look. And you can't change how they're going to look genetically, the tendon you have, but what you can change is the training. I was thinking about how many times I hit them, and I was really breaking down my workouts today. And I realized I only hit them 4 times per week, which doesn't seem like a whole lot because my rear delts is like 15 sets per week, or my chest is 10 sets per week. Important muscle groups that I value is a lot more. And the calves, I just don't seem to care. I train them 4 sets per week. But if anything, they need a lot more volume than any other muscle group because they're already in use constantly. They can respond to huge amounts of volume. You could walk 10 miles today and you'd be fine. But you're putting your calves under a ton of pressure. If you did 1,000 push-ups today, for example, your chest would be on fire. But if you took 1,000 steps, your calves would be fine because they're very, very strong and they respond very, very well. Not to say that a push-up is as hard on the chest as taking a step is on the calf, but really we hit them with a lot of volume already. So if you want to truly shock them and make them grow more, you're gonna have to incorporate a lot more volume. So the way some guys do it is if they want to prioritize calf growth, they want to put their calves first thing in the gym. They want to train them not just on leg days, but on other days, which is fine because they recover very, very fast. So one way you could do it. Another way is just to simply hit them with more sets. Right now, I'm doing about 2 by 12 with dumbbells, and this just isn't enough sets. I should really be doing more like 3 or 4. And another thing to note when you're training these is, number one, you don't want to be seated because there are some studies that show when you do seated calf raises, the growth is very, very minimal. So you want to have a straight leg, whether you're doing that on the leg extension machine or you're just simply hanging off of any old ledge. That's one thing to keep in mind. And then the second thing to keep in mind is that you want to spend most of your time during the movement at kind of the bottom of the lift. So if your ledge is here, you're doing seated calf raises, calf raises, calf raises. You want to lift up and go down and hold it at this down area because this is where they're going to experience the most growth. Some studies done about that. And yeah, that's really the important thing. So I'm going to start hitting my calves with more volume. Make sure you're training calves because they actually do matter. And while they are partially genetic, you can still improve them to a reasonable extent. I'll catch you in the next one.